Now, for more on Rex Tillerson's business background and what it could mean as Secretary of State, I'm joined by Carl Larry, Director of Oil and Gas for Frost and Sullivan. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you, Rachelle.
So, in general, what does experience as a CEO bring to the table when you become America's top diplomat and statesman?
Well, when we look at politics in general, a lot of it is about hand-holding or relationships or, trying to get a deal done. Now we're looking at the opposite end of this from a business perspective, a lot of the same principles, deal-making, relationships, and trying to get things done. So it's similar, except in, two different areas of the, of the spectrum here, but a lot of similar attributes for both positions.
Now, let's look at Rex Tillerson specifically. What are your thoughts on him and his potential for the job?
Well, I think that when we look at the world as a whole right now, oil is very important, whether it's the price of oil and supporting economies that produce oil, or whether it's oil that's going to countries that need it to support their economies, or they need it to grow their economies. That's where, something that Rex Tillerson does and has a very good familiar background with is going to be one of his best attributes. So I think that is really going to play a big part going forward here. I think oil becomes a very key thing when it comes when we're talking about politics or we're talking about business.
So in what ways will his time as a CEO, especially at a company with the global reach of Exxon, be an asset if he's confirmed as Secretary of State?
Well, he doesn't become the CEO of the biggest oil company in America by no fault. Obviously, he's very good at relationship building. He's very good at making deals. He's very good at listening to what other people want and expecting to get back what he wants. So I think that there's a lot of diplomacy, in this position as CEO, but a lot of that background that he has been dealing with a lot of the countries that we deal with politically. So, there's a lot of similarities there, a lot of fine lines that are similar, parallel lines, and I think that's where it helps him most.
And speaking of some of those fine lines, we see that Trump's own business ties are creating something of a gray area when it comes to conflicts of interest. So what is it about Tillerson's time as Exxon CEO that possibly could be cause for concern?
Well, I mean, again, we go back to oil. I think that he knows this best. He knows how it works. He knows what people want. He knows what people need. So, if there's if there's something that is in his background that maybe, might play over into a gray area, it's this knowledge of oil and gas, energy policies for other countries, whether it supports their economies or helps their economies grow, is going to be something he's got a better acumen at than most people will. So he may be able to use that to his advantage, but also maybe something that people are going to be concerned with.
Because we are seeing some of this concern about his relationship with Russia. Do you see that playing a part when it comes to international relations if you've already had business dealings in some of these countries?
Well, it's a touchy subject. Obviously, that we're talking about some major world superpowers here, whether it's the U.S. or Russia or in between with China, and the relationships that we have going through all of this, all these other countries and all these other areas. It's going to be hard to really discern if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. But we are talking right now about a Secretary of State who's going to know a lot of these superpowers in a different way, and that may become a good thing rather than a bad thing. But it's a lot about perception right now and how we see that going forward, if that is going to be a good or bad thing.
Now, let's also take a look at the broader picture. Back in 2007, Tillerson said that the U.S. should really choose this course of greater international engagement. So how does his time at Exxon reflect or perhaps refute that position?
Well, I mean, again, we go back to our energy. Energy is a very international policy when it comes to, global economies. So I think that international experience he has, or the international acumen that he has, or that he wants to develop, is going to be something that he's traveled to major economies. He's traveled to small economies and struggling economies. So he understands what is really important to a lot of these people and a lot of these places, that I think that he might have an open ear, or at least the experience for that open ear, to go forward and help that bridge those gaps.
All right, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your insights. Carl Larry, Oil and Gas Director at Frost and Sullivan.